After 3 years of waiting, we have finally gotten a trailer for the next movie in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and oh boy, there is a lot to talk about. We've got some new beasts, we've got some new characters, we've got some old characters with new faces, and I've got a few predictions about the story. So strap in, because today we're breaking down the first trailer for The Secrets of Dumbledore. Now, the trailer opens with this gorgeous shot of Hogwarts. It's not often that we've seen the castle from this angle, and I think it's pretty cool to see these different locations in relation to one another. Like we see the owlery in the distance, and over on the left side we see the Quidditch pitch. And I actually missed this on my first couple of viewings of the trailer, but if you look very closely, you can actually see a Gryffindor and a Slytherin Seeker flying over the lake on their way towards the castle, which leads us nicely into the next shot. Because in the next shot we see that they are of course flying towards the castle because they are chasing the snitch. Now, maybe these shots of the Quidditch players and the snitch are in this trailer because Quidditch is going to play a big part of this film, but I think these shots are just here because the iconography of Quidditch is so recognizable and it probably sparks joy with a lot of viewers. We then get a quick shot of Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, as we know him from the Harry Potter series, which then fades into Jude Law's younger Dumbledore. And I think it might be in order to just take a few seconds here to talk about when this movie is set. I don't know exactly which year, but as far as I can gather, this film takes place sometime in the 1930s. We know then that it's probably not gonna be in this film that Dumbledore defeats Grindelwald, because from what we know from the Harry Potter books, that doesn't happen till 1945, with the end of the Second World War. But what does happen in the 1930s is that Tom Riddle starts at Hogwarts. Tom Riddle, who of course grows up to become Lord Voldemort, starts his first year at Hogwarts in 1938. Now that means that at the very best, Dumbledore has 8 years to go from this to this. I mean, I feel like the filmmakers have just forgotten about this scene from Half-Blood Prince when Dumbledore visits Tom Riddle at the orphanage. Or maybe they're just ignoring it. Well, that's probably fine. Who cares? I care. I mean, it's not like it's the first time they've changed something for the movies that just completely messes up the timeline. I mean, what on earth was McGonagall doing at Hogwarts in The Crimes of Grindelwald? And this freaking bridge that just sort of showed up out of nowhere and then suddenly has just always been there? But I digress. Let's move on. Next we see Newt and his brother Theseus enter Hogsmeade, where they meet up with a much younger Aberforth, Dumbledore's brother. This obviously begs the question, why are they seeking out Aberforth to get to Albus? We know that Albus Dumbledore should be teaching at Hogwarts at this point, so why aren't they just seeking him out at the school? Well, my bet is that either they've already tried to reach him at the school, but were told that he had left on some quest, or someone has removed Albus from the school, which we see happen multiple times in the Harry Potter series, so it wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary. Aberforth seems kinda hostile when talking about Albus, which makes sense. The two brothers fell out with each other when their sister Ariana was killed by a misfired curse during a duel between Albus, Aberforth, and Grindelwald. And I don't believe Aberforth ever really forgave Albus for that. We're then shown Albus walking through the snow-covered streets of New York. The fact that it's snowy in New York as well as in Hogsmeade tells me that these two scenes are probably taking place within the same time frame. So when Newt and Theseus couldn't find him at the school, this is where he went. We then see some sort of rally or standoff kind of situation. I don't really know how to describe this, but the crowd seems to be split into two different parties. The orange party and the yellow party. The yellow banner seems to be written in Portuguese, and it says something along the lines of the International Confederation of Witches. My guess is that the orange one is written in Chinese characters, since it's been said that some of this film takes place in China, but I know nothing about Chinese writing, so please tell me if I'm wrong here. And if you even have some idea of what it says on the banner, then please let me know in the comments. There's a few shots later on in the trailer where we see some variations on these banners, and some of them say something about a vote. So my guess is that they're probably having some sort of big election for the International Confederation of Witches and Wizards. And if I'm not mistaken, it's probably gonna end up with Grindelwald being elected.
Probably.
Speaking of, next up we get our first good look at Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald. And I'm not gonna get into the whole discussion of whether or not it made sense to fire Johnny Depp and replace him with Mads. I got a whole separate video on that topic if you want to check it out. But with that said, my national pride does make me pretty damn excited to see Mads Mikkelsen in this role. The look of the character is obviously very different from Johnny Depp's version. Mads kinda just looks like some dude, where Johnny Depp was definitely more recognizable and iconic, though almost a bit cartoony. One of the striking features about Johnny Depp's version was the heterochromia, the different colored eyes. Now it's hard to see, but to me it doesn't look like they've carried that feature over to Mads Mikkelsen's version of the character, which tells us that all of those theories that Grindelwald was wearing Mad-Eye Moody's eye or something like that are probably wrong.
Probably.
That was most likely just a funny idea that Johnny Depp had for the character. In the scene, we see Grindelwald extracting a memory from Yusuf Kama, the dude who tried to kill Credence throughout the last film. Later on in the trailer, we see that Yusuf has joined Newt's team, so when Grindelwald is extracting the memory, that might be a way for him to try to learn something about what Newt and Dumbledore are up to. And speaking of Dumbledore, the next thing we see in the trailer is Dumbledore saying to Theseus that if they're going to defeat Grindelwald, Theseus will have to trust him. This line is really reminiscent of something Dumbledore tells Harry in The Half-Blood Prince before they head out to find Slytherin's locket. I feel like this kind of tells us that Dumbledore has always been a man with many secrets who demands a certain amount of trust. And I'm beginning to understand why some people might not like him. If you don't trust him, he certainly does have a lot of unanswered questions.
But you can't deny Dumbledore's got style.
Next, we get some shots of what I honestly thought this franchise was going to be all about. We see Newt and Pickett the Bowtruckle venturing into a bamboo forest, presumably on the lookout for some fantastic beast. Then we get a few shots of the team walking through the streets of what I assume to be New York before they walk straight through a brick wall. This shot feels a little bit like someone just wanted to flex how much of a better walking through a wall effect they can do now compared to what it looked like in the original Harry Potter films. But I mean, it does look kinda cool. From there we see Newt arriving at some kind of temple in most likely Bhutan. Later on in the trailer we see that Grindelwald is apparently doing a speech or some kind of rally at the temple. Or maybe he's just there to get something from the temple. It could be that this is actually where they're holding the election for the International Confederation of Witches and Wizards, and that the speech is in fact Grindelwald's victory speech. We then hear Theseus doing a roll call of the team, with Newt, his assistant Bunty, and Yusuf Kama all returning from the previous film. We then get the new character Eulalie Hicks, who is a teacher at the American Wizard School Ilvermorny, and of course, last but not least, Jacob Kowalski. I'm pretty excited to possibly learn some more about Ilvermorny in this film, because when the first Fantastic Beasts film came out, there was a lot of hype about this American Wizard School, but then we never actually got to see the school in the film. However, now that a teacher from the school is on the team, I feel like we're definitely going to learn some more. And having a teacher on the team might not be such a bad idea, since Jacob is given his very own wand. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't think a muggle would actually be able to use a wand. Unless, of course, Jacob isn't completely magic-free. I get that he has to be able to protect himself, but if he can't use the wand, then it's really nothing more than a fairly short poking stick. We then see the team actually meeting up with Albus Dumbledore at Hogwarts, where he seems to be conjuring up a miniature of the Himalayas. This is probably to brief the team on what is going on with the election at the temple in Bhutan. But I just want to pause on one thing for a second here, and that is the person in the background. At first I thought it was Bunty, Newt's assistant, but on closer inspection it actually looks more like Tina, who otherwise is suspiciously absent from this trailer. I think it's weird that Tina doesn't play a bigger part in this trailer, given how big of a part she played in the previous two films, and the fact that we know that she and Newt are going to end up getting married. It says so in the book. Also, I think that just occurred to me while leafing through this book. Look at this entry for the Yeti. This looks a lot like the scenery around that temple. Do y'all think we might see the goddamn abominable snowman in this film?
Welcome to the Himalayas!
That would be pretty cool. Anyways, we get some shots of Credence with the Phoenix that we saw at the end of the last film. In the last film, it was very much set up that the Dumbledore family and Phoenixes were connected. And Grindelwald ultimately revealed that Credence's real name was Aurelius Dumbledore. Whether or not that is true is probably what this film is going to be all about. I personally don't believe it to be true, but they'd better come up with some really good explanation for this misdirect. We're then painfully reminded of Queenie's betrayal with a few shots of her and Jacob standing in his bakery, followed by a quick shot of the blood pact MacGuffin from the previous film. And then we get some more magical creature shenanigans with Newt and Theseus swiveling with a bunch of baby manticores, possibly, before they are met by the grown-up version. Then we get a bunch of action shots. We get some dueling in Bhutan. We get Jacob trying to control a spell opposite a very much more evil-looking Queenie. We got Credence tearing through some magic veil of some sort. And we got Newt getting in his cardio, presumably to get to Grindelwald at the top of the stairs. Now, I want to briefly take a look at this bathtub scene with Grindelwald that could be happening in one of two places. One is Grindelwald's castle, Nurmengard, in the Alps, and the other is the temple in Bhutan. That pool might be what Grindelwald is looking for. However, I want to talk about the fact that he seems to be mad at Credence. Why are they falling out? Could Credence be doubting what Grindelwald is telling him? Could he possibly be warming up to Dumbledore? Well, not completely anyways, because the very next thing we see is Credence and Dumbledore duking it out in a battle of epic proportions. I think this duel is gonna be so cool. Dumbledore always has the best duels. Newt and the team are then introduced to the Room of Requirement, which seems to be inhabited by some kind of drum that acts like a port key to their destination in the Himalayas. Then there's a few more action shots, some weird looking beast, Pickett saving Newt's wand, some more dueling, and 3 points to Hufflepuff before we get the title. Now, it looks like there's a bird behind the title, and given that this film is all about Dumbledore, it would make sense if that bird was a phoenix. But it also looks like the bird is made out of water, which definitely doesn't make sense if it's a phoenix. It honestly looks a little bit like a raven. But what do you guys think? The trailer then ends with Jacob living my dream and getting to enjoy a meal in the Great Hall. And I gotta say, he says that the wand is dangerous, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that those girls might have a better grip on what to do with that wand than he does. And that is the first trailer for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. It was kind of a lot. But tell me, are you excited for this film? Was there something in the trailer that stood out to you? And was there anything that I missed? If so, then please let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. It really does help me out. And if you want more videos from me, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. But that's it. My name is Martin. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take care and so long.